chair up there.
Go ahead, Coach.
Okay, a great win. I can't say enough about the effort our guys gave. Ogo, that's a career game. 24 points, 10 assists. He carried us, especially in the first half. Hit some huge shots. He ran the show, and as I told the team after the game, it's Ogo didn't play well against Cleveland State, but it shows a lot of character when you can come back from a game where you don't play well and have a game like he did tonight. So that's a tribute to him and his mental and physical abilities. He shot at the end. You go to that. And he made me look good. I thought Demetrius did a great job, rebounding the ball. I thought, we got off to a great start. We knew Buffalo was going to get a run. They're a very talented team. We knew Melky was going to be a very good player. But we thought one of the big keys was rebounding the ball. And I thought we did a great job with that. And the other thing, we did a bad job against Cleveland State handling the ball. And, I don't know, we had like 7 or 8 assists. And tonight we had 22 assists, and we shot the ball well from threes. And that's how we have to play. It was a humbling experience at Cleveland State for our guys, and I thought, they got back into the gym on Sunday on their own and worked on their skill level, and it paid off today. That's what I tell the guys all the time. You invest so much time in this game from a player's perspective and a coach's perspective, and you want to be able to have days like this. This is what it's all about.
And you talk about the final possession there. What was kind of going through your head all the way up until the last shot?
Yes, I just came back to what Coach Mills talked about, mental toughness in adverse situations such as that. So I knew when he drew up the play, like you said, we could go to that after the mark the shot. So we got it to shot.
Was anybody surprised at all? The students swarming the floor at the end. I mean, some people might say, UB's a team. You should be. You're from the Atlantic 10, but yeah. I mean, that is a rivalry game. I mean, do you guys consider it that way? I mean, was there bragging rights involved here?
I don't think we've been here long enough to really know the extent of the whole rivalry thing. But I mean, we know they're close by, and I mean, we knew it was going to be a game that they were not going to just hand to us. So yeah, there was a little bit of that tension in there.
Plus, I think we got great fans. This is what makes the Rally Center a unique place. And for our students to be able to celebrate like that, is special.
Yeah, but if that's Binghamton, that you beat in that fashion, we probably don't see the same thing, right?
Yeah, you'd have to ask them.
Right.
But I thought, the way we won the game, that's it doesn't happen every day.
As good as the win was, though, Mark, I think it could have been devastating the other way if you don't get that shot from Andrew.
So you never look at it that way.
Well, no, but I mean,
you can't look at it as if he misses it, we lose.
Right.
That's
no,
not,
not for that, but just to have that lead get away.
Yeah,
after playing so well. I mean,
I haven't really thought about it that way. If I coach like that, I'm in trouble. Worrying about what's going to happen if the shot doesn't go in.
Right.
I just, it was a great victory for us. We knew Buffalo was a good team, and we had, it's a rivalry, and we knew it was going to be close, and we knew they were going to make a run. And the great thing about us, I thought, is they made a run and they cut it, but we found a way. That shows some, as Andrew talked about, some mental and physical toughness.
Coach, this was a team that was real good defensively. You guys, I think, were equal in holding teams at like 36% from the field. And
yeah.
Tonight, shooting over 50% against a defense like that. Just talk about,
Yeah, we didn't stop them either. We shot, the ball well from threes, which we hadn't been doing, and we knew we had good shooters. We just weren't shooting the ball well. And like I said, after the Cleveland State game, I think the guys almost like recommitted themselves a little bit in terms of getting into the gym and working on their skills and, Olgo's in there every day, you know, and you like to see that pay off. But all of our guys have come in and have really worked on their skill level, and you know, we got exposed a little bit against Cleveland State, you know, in terms of their pressure, and we knew that Buffalo was going to play the same physical style, and I thought we answered the bell and played well.
You guys had bad games offensively before this. Did you, while that was going on, did you think in your head, okay, I know this can be a matter of time here before it kind of comes out the way?
Yeah, I know we have good players and good shooters. I think maybe they're in a slump or whatever. We just didn't. I think against Cleveland State, I think our guys realized I didn't play well, or we didn't play well. I got to go back into the gym and. I think any person that wants to be good in any field, when things don't go well, you got to reassess. You got to look at yourself and say, well, what do I got to do different? We turned the ball over 24 times. We didn't shoot the ball well, and our guys looked at themselves and went back to work.
There's a concern, though, Smitty, that you guys left them back in the game. You were up by 9 with about 5 minutes left. Up by 19 with 13.
Yeah, we had severe foul trouble. There's a lot of different things that were involved in that game, other than just us allowing that lead to slip. But I for whatever reason, we caught ourselves. And the end is the end. And that's how you have to look at it. We won the game. We found a way. But when you get a lead like we had, 16 and 18 or whatever it was, you don't want to let that go. I thought, we gave up some easy baskets. But they're a good team. They fought back, and we knew that was going to happen. And we just, thank goodness for the last shot.
Demetrius seems to have taken a big step forward from last year.
Yeah, no question. I think, he's been challenged. I think our whole team, other than Andrew, everybody else is really unproven. Michael maybe a little bit. But everybody else, from Demetrius to Quan to Marquise when we get him back to Ogo, they weren't go-to guys. They were guys that if they played okay, they stayed in. If they didn't, all right, come out, we got another guy that can replace you. Now I've talked about it before, the evolution of a good player. Every year they're going to get better. And Demetrius went from someone that's, played 10 minutes a game to someone's going to play 25, 30 minutes a game. And there's going to be growing pains as we go along. But I think, the game he had against Cornell was a breakout game. I think that gave him confidence. And now it's, he's playing much better, and I think he can play much better than he is. But he's going in the right direction, and having 5 offensive rebounds, 6 assists, and one thing we always hop on him is fundamentals. And having, I'm not sure if he ever had 6 assists in his life. Maybe in the CYO team. But 6 assists is a great job for someone that has been struggling, handling the ball. It just shows that he's putting some time in and it's paying off.
What has been the difference? What do you think? What had from last year to this year?
Just like getting to actually be out there in the system. Like it's different from sitting on the pitch to actually being out there. Just getting accustomed to it. And getting in the gym more on top of what I usually be getting in the gym.
Ogo, with Andrew going to the bench with 3 fouls, you kind of became really aggressive. So kind of talk about what went through your mindset when Andrew went to the bench and your lead was cut down.
We had to find a way to score, what I'm saying? Because a lot of stuff goes through Andrew. A lot of the sets that we run and motion off and stuff. We're always looking for, obvious. But when he goes out, it's like, it was almost like the sense of our offense kind of went down. We're like, okay, let's just pass it around. And, we have to keep the tempo up regardless of who's actually out there.
But you just had that look, though, that every time you shot it, it was going to go in, for especially the last 10 minutes of the first half there. Is that kind of how you were feeling?
Yeah, it was. It was like that. I'm going through a lot of frustrations with shooting the ball, and I think tonight it was just that much better, and I felt a lot more loose.
Coach Smith, you talked about how good teams always take a first half lead and continue it in the first couple minutes. You guys did that this time.
Yeah, we did a great job. You're exactly right. We did a great job coming out in the first half. I'm a firm believer it's like the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half are critical. And I thought the first 5 minutes of the second half we really came out and stretched the lead out. And in the past, especially last year, we had times where we came out and we weren't ready to go, and our lead. I think it happened in the exhibition game, didn't it? But I think the guys are more focused, and it's we got to get off to good starts, and we did that in the second half.
We'll just talk about that foul trouble. What was it like for you? Just with the
For me personally,
yeah,
nerve-wracking. You never want to see your power forward and your center with 3 fouls in the first half, and you're starting 2 guard with 3 fouls in the first half. But I thought, Jake and Brett went in there, and the numbers aren't great, but Jake in 11 minutes gets 4 rebounds. Brett, 19 minutes gets 4 rebounds, and that's what we need. They're not going to be, prolific scorers, but they're going to be guys that can defend and rebound. And I thought they did a great job on going in there and getting some rebounds, and that's what we need. Both those guys, they play, combined 30 minutes, and they get 8 rebounds, and that's something that was very helpful in our win.
Good time for one more question if there's one.
So there seemed to be some matchups that played out in your favor on the offensive end that enabled you to make them play help defense that got Ogo open on a number of occasions.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, Andrew, and they were double teaming our big guys, and I thought our big guys did a good job of kicking the ball out. In some of the sets, the ball screens, they would shock the ball screens or trap the ball screens, and we had worked on it, trying to find the open man, and I thought we did. I thought we did a great job of making that one extra pass. And having 22 assists on 28 field goals, speaks volumes about how we shared the ball. That's a great number.
Okay, thanks guys.
Okay, thanks.